So great. Hello, welcome to our building project update. It is October 20th, 2021, and we are happy to be presenting more about what is going on with our library building, where we're at in the process, and just give everyone a little bit of an idea of the work that's been done the last several months. So I am joined by Megan, Harte, and Jamie Zaura from 845 Design, our architects on this project, and they're going to take over and talk a little bit about some of the work that they have done these last couple months. And then we will hear more about our budget and where we're at in the financing process, and then have some time for questions. So thank you for being with us. And just a reminder that this is being recorded. So if you want to use the chat to ask any questions, then that sounds great. We'll get to those as we are able to. And thanks for being here. So I'm going to hand it over now to Megan and Jamie.
Thanks, Kate. So we're happy to be here tonight. And first, we wanted to go through just kind of an update on where we're at with the project. Our team has been working with the library as well as the construction manager, Bolt, on preparing a schematic design for the building. We're looking at it from an overall standpoint, from both the exterior work that we know that needs to be done, but also hoping that we can get some of the interior renovations completed that we heard about when we did our interviews and surveys. So where we're at with the exterior design is we've got a design.
I'll work on making this.
Yeah. There we go. So our exterior design is, as we've discussed in previous meetings, is we're just really trying to capture the essence of the postmodern building that is the LaGrange Park Public Library. And so really trying to embrace the idea of the open book and that all are welcome here. And so we've done that, and we've tried to enhance accessibility, obviously address the exterior issues that have been happening with water infiltration and building materials failing. That's kind of a no-brainer. But what we really wanted to do is take it as an opportunity to enhance the entry and accessibility into the library and to make it safe for everybody coming to visit. So this pretty picture that you see here is kind of an artist's rendering of what we were proposing to do to the library. So you can see that on the front here, we're looking to replace all of the glazing that's currently there. And this kind of, these lines that you see here is a pattern that will be on the glass to help with a couple of things. It'll help with solar glare inside the library. It'll also help to for our bird friends so that they don't come to an untimely death on the wall of the library. And also, obviously, it's a newer system, it's newer technology, it'll be much more thermally efficient. And so that is obviously, and watertight. It'll help with some of the issues that are ongoing with that wall currently. You'll also notice that we're doing a more traditional window pattern on this side of the building. The diagonal mullions, kind of the pieces of metal that are dividing the strips of glass, the way they're currently arranged on the front of the building is causing problems from a water infiltration standpoint. And so we're advising that we don't replicate that condition. And we're going with a more traditional style of window mullions so that we can avoid any kind of potential water problems. On either side of that glass, you have these columns that currently exist. We would just be cladding them with a new material. At the bottom of those columns currently, we have some corrosion. They're also kind of faded in color. They're that blue. And so we're hoping to kind of not neutralize the exterior palette, but kind of just consolidate it. And we're using the mural that's painted on the inside of the barrel vault on the interior, borrowing some of those tones from that mural to apply to the outside of the building. Along with that, you can kind of see this kind of lighter green over here. That would be a new EIFS system. EIFS is an abbreviation for exterior finishing insulation system, also known as Drive-It. It'll be a much more thermally efficient watertight system that will be replaced on all sides of that barrel vault, as well as the east wall. And that's a big source of most of the problems that are happening with the exterior enclosure right now. And then you can see we've also made some changes to the entry canopy, as well as the ramp that is in the front of the building here. This masonry wall that you see right here, we've incorporated the ramp behind here. It kind of acts as an anchor to that front elevation. So the ramp is behind this brick wall. This brick wall is also an opportunity to have some greenery and add some landscape to the front of the building. What we're trying to do, as I said before, is just improve accessibility to the entry here. So we've pulled away some of the things that are currently kind of clustered right here, that entry. So the flagpole, for example, there's a railing that's there to protect pedestrians. And we're all about making it safe and accessible. And so you'll notice we've pulled the flagpole out of the front area and put it in the parking island. We've also included a bike rack in this area as well, again, just to kind of pull some of those things away from the front entry. There's also currently a railing that exists right here because your book drop is located in the glass wall of the front of the building. We're proposing to move the book drop, which we'll get to in the next slide. But again, just trying to make it safe from a pedestrian and from a vehicular perspective. We want to have kind of an anchor to this part of the building as well, to protect it from the elements and also to avoid any kind of impact to the glazing. So we would extend this brick wall just a little bit to kind of catch where that railing ends now, so that somebody walking right out this door isn't right in the middle of the parking lot. And so in doing that, it kind of helps to anchor that building. We also have this kind of playful canopy that's kind of reminiscent of kind of a curled book page coming out of the spine, where we have an opportunity to have some fun lighting, some staggered lighting that's really going to make this area bright and safe. It also will take care of some of the problems we have with drainage and gutters on the current canopy. Just kind of concealing that all in a new canopy and column and tying it into the appropriate sewer. Over here, you can kind of see tucked over here is a new opening here. We would be doing some work here with the curbs and the parking lot. And this is going to be where tech services is located. So they're actually moving, they're kind of right behind the stairwell that's here right now. They're going to flip to the other side of the building. They're going to have an exterior door and a dedicated parking spot. So things picking up holds or picking up items from the library. There'll be some outdoor lockers right here. It also eases congestion at the front door because this is where the library will receive large deliveries and they won't have to clutter up the front entryway. And this little arch right here is just a canopy to provide some protection from the elements. So that's kind of the exterior in a nutshell. On the interior side, as we know, we've been talking that the exterior is the priority, but it's also, it's not all of the budget. That's what we've been working with the construction manager Bolt on is pricing some of these preliminary designs to see what we do have left over and what we can achieve on the interior. And so from a functionality standpoint, we're kind of proposing changes on all three levels and phasing it basically from the lower level to the first level, and then the second level would be the last level completed. And so on the lower level, first of all, just to orient yourselves, these are plans on a 45-degree angle or axonometric, and they're kind of layered on top of each other the way they would be in real life. So north is towards this part of the screen. This is the parking lot side, and then this is the community park side over here. So the first level, the red arrow here kind of shows you where the front door is at, and then that's obviously not changing. And then this is the barrel vault section here. So if we're walking in this front door, these teal spaces that you see here would all be a new marketplace style adult department. So mostly fiction, some lifestyle type books, cookbooks, new releases, staff picks, all of those kind of things would be right here in this main lobby. In moving tech services that I mentioned before, tech services gets tucked on the south side of this barrel vault. And what that does is that opens up space on this floor right here. This big orange space right here is the new community room. And so what's really nice about that is, one, you don't have to go up or down a level to attend an event in that space. But two, there's also an existing security gate that goes across the lobby right now that can be closed and still allow access to the community room as well as to a restroom facility. So that's really key if there's events that run after hours to kind of keep the rest of the library secure while the event takes place. Within that community room, we do have appropriations for storage, tables and chairs, as well as for an AV closet. So it'll be fitted with technology as well. The other things that we have on this first floor back here is anything that you see in orange is a meeting space. So we also have two other study rooms that would be located on the first floor. And then on the opposite side of the floor plan here, we have a computer lab as well as a maker space. And a maker space is really exciting because those are the programs that might deal with more hands-on things. And it will open up some programming opportunities too for the library as well. Another really important thing about this first floor is there will be bathrooms. So these two light blue spaces that you see here are two new family restrooms. And so we've placed them strategically so that there's one that can serve the community room as soon as you enter the facility. And then there's one also tucked back here for convenience. There will be a new circ desk on this floor as well that ties back to tech services, similar to how it does now. But again, just making that whole operation more efficient. The stairs will remain where they are. They'll still be open. And then this room back here, that's the quiet room right now where the periodicals and newspapers are at, will remain as well, but we'll put new glazing in to serve that area. I'm going to jump to the lower level next. The lower level will remain the children's department. Everything that you see in yellow is the children's space. One of the things that we learned a lot about when we were doing our interviews and talking to folks is the noise level coming from children's that carries right up the stairway here into the second floor. So what we're proposing is moving the play area from this nook right here to further into the building, but still allowing the natural light that comes in off that patio for the preschool area. So we think that's a really nice solution. We're not tucking them all the way back in the building. They still get some natural light, but we're also moving them away from kind of this, this open area that just allows the sound to travel. Also in this area, this big orange space here, similar to where the activity room is currently located, is a bigger activity room. And it'll be fitted with storage, AV, as well as a sink, and has the ability to be partitioned off to accommodate events. Then this light green space that you see down here is some staff spaces. We'll have offices for the children's director and the facilities director back here. Again, these light blue spaces represent family bathrooms. So we will update these restrooms on the lower level just cosmetically, but we're also going to tuck a family bathroom in here, being that it is the children's department. And then right behind there, we're also tucking in a lactation room. Again, really important for the children's department. Some of the stacks that you see here will be in a more of a marketplace style versus traditional stacks. Again, they can rotate with the season or whatever theme is happening for that month, but just to make it a more welcoming, flexible space in that lower level. And then when we get to the second floor, everything that you see in pink would be the adult services. And adult services and young adult. So the young adult is in this light purple right here. And we've heard two things when it came to the young adult space. And one of them was, there needs to be visibility, but there also needs to be a sense of privacy in a space that's their own. So we have both of those happening here. So this would be an open area here. So there wouldn't be a wall or glass or anything. So you'd literally flow from this pink space into this purple space. And this would be where the stacks are for young adult. And then there would be a glass wall that separates the stacks into more of the lounge hangout space for the young adult department. And then tucked in this corner here, we have the young adult director's office, so that we do have eyes on this space as well as here. But you can also have, maybe louder events or more gathering type things happening back here. And again, this is the community park side. So the view out these windows back here is going to be great. There's great natural light. And I think it'll also make the young adults using the space feel like it's their own. Also tucked in this space, this light green space back here is some of the offices for the administrative staff. We've got the director's office and a couple of other offices tucked in here. And then we also have a nice staff workroom. One of the things that's lacking right now for a lot of the staff is that there's no time, there's no area for them to do off-desk work. So that's program planning or ordering materials or resources. They're doing that all in the public eye, which it just is more difficult to get done, and it's not as efficient. So there's some touchdown spaces here where staff can come in and use the computer, get some of their off-desk time duties complete, and not have to clutter up the public circulation desk. Also on this floor, we also have meeting rooms. Tucked away in the corner here is a meeting room, and then we've got 3 along the south side over here. One of these meeting rooms could potentially be like a podcast room or a digital media room that could be more quiet and used for things for recordings and that type of thing. We also have a business center up here. So the business center will have a fax machine, a computer, maybe some collating supplies, that type of thing. And what we did in organizing the furniture in this space is kind of worked from the more noisy functions to the more quiet functions. So coming up the stairs and a circulation desk and the young adult space, this is all anticipated to be a little bit more noisier functions. And so those were located closer to the park side. And then if you really are looking for some heads down study time, quiet space, those would be more towards the parking lot side here. And that's really kind of a function of where this existing stair falls. We're keeping the stair open because I think it just provides a lot of benefit if it's open, and just talking to people. That's mostly how people are getting around if they're able to do so. And so we don't want to close it off and have it be unwelcoming. So I think it's really important to keep the stair open, but we're also cognizant that it causes noise issues. So trying to range the floor from most noisy to less noisy is one of the approaches that we're taking. Everything else that you see on here is existing restrooms. Again, there'll be some minor cosmetic changes to those. And then same thing with kind of the staff area here. This is the staff break room, just some minor improvements planned for that space.
Awesome.
That's our update.
Thank you so much, Megan. I'm going to check and see at this time if we have some questions that have come in. And then we're going to move on to Bolt, and there's nothing in the chat right now. Oh, hold on, we do have something here. Right, Allison wanted to ask something, so now I just have to figure out how to unmute you, Allison. Hold on just a minute. Find you. And Allison, you are good. If you want to unmute and talk, you can go ahead.
Hi, Kate. Sorry about that. I was actually just trying to check the chat, but while I'm here, I think a point that was made that I've never heard before is I do really enjoy the explanation about the stairwell. I think it's a very well-received point about keeping it open, especially with closing that floor on the second level. So that'll be my comment then, that I was very happy to hear that explanation. I hadn't heard it quite put that way before, and I liked it very much.
Thank you. Perfect. And Allison is one of our trustees, and she has been on the facility committee. So she's sort of been in on this process for planning from early on. So her participation has been really helpful and appreciated. So thank you for those comments. All right, I'm going to mute you again. And I'm going to move on to have Bolt, our construction management firm, speak. And both of them are, both Brad and Dustin are here from Bolt. I believe Dustin's going to be the one speaking. So they're going to talk a little bit about budget and where we're at in the process of determining some of the estimates for costs on all of these changes that we would like to make. So Dustin and Brad, if you would like to take it from here, please feel free.
All righty, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Sure can.
All righty, Dustin Hengstebeck. I'm a project manager with Bolt Construction, and Let me start. I should be able to share screen. Oh, I think that needs to be accepted by you, Kate.
I stopped sharing. Let's see if that will let me too.
It says host disabled participants.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna try again. You're a host now. There we go. This is tricky when we're doing this from home.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, it
There
showed
we
that
go,
I was
okay.
when I was trying to transition over, it showed that I was muted. So, all right. So I have on the screen, we can figure we'll start with the large picture, the large scale kind of bid summary by divisions, construction divisions, split for exterior and interior. So as Megan was discussing, we kind of have these split by with the $4,300,000 budget for the exterior, lower level, first floor and second floor. And then with phase two, with or without, depending on grant, these items would get added at a later time. We discussed that right now we're moving forward with including everything per the plan, per design, per everyone's expectations, to throw a budget and receive pricing from our trusted trade partners and other subcontractors as far as how that is current with the market at the time, without having exact full-on specs or details, as we're at a progress set price scenario right now. So right now, as you can see, all the costs are broken out between either exterior or interior, and these are our direct cost totals. And then with additional GCs, general conditions and general requirement breakdowns, and for summing these totals, we are sitting right now, for what we have on the drawings and initial specs, $5,766,500 is what we're coming in at currently. I will say to that point that we're at a budgeting phase right now, and the market is crazy busy right now, and it's very volatile. So I would say that most of these subcontractors, if they did have time when they were putting their numbers to it, it's a budget phase, as I said, that the specs aren't hardlined. And I think that these numbers should, as we start moving through the process, having specs being added, that they should start to, we can obviously then we'll send out for an invite to bid, hard bid, these documents. And of course, these costs, we would hope that would start to fall closer in line, and hopefully some would start to drop, as with a budget that tends to be a conservative phase, and you want to make sure that you're protected and for fluctuation, as if you expect the builder's grade product and then wants to premium grade, etc. So that's kind of high level right there. Kate, should we stop there before I go to the schedule for any questions?
Yeah, I can check and see here. I don't see anything coming through just now in the Q&A, or the chat. If you want to say anything else, go right ahead.
Okay. So I do have a little additional breakdown here. Let me zoom in a little bit so that's easier for people to see. So just percent of direct costs, these are kind of our buckets that those costs are split into lower level, first floor, second floor, and exterior, with the mechanical being broken out, and all of these figures together sum to our grand total. So a little bit more of detail that I wanted to add to that.
Well, and I'll just add to it, the mechanical number that Dustin has is for the replacement of the 2 mechanical units currently serving the building. So as part of our due diligence, when we were analyzing the building and doing our building assessment, it was discovered that those units really need to be replaced if we're going to be spending this kind of money on the rest of the building. To not replace those right now would not be ideal. It's not recommended. So that was a kind of an unexpected cost to the budget that we're including into the project.
That is correct. Okay, if there aren't any questions with that, we'll switch to the schedule.
Mhm.
We put together a preliminary schedule here, and right now, as I said, we're schematic design, so that finishing up around roughly November 4th, and then all of our pre-construction tasks running thereafter. So as I talked to Kate and the design team, the real crucial items and critical path falls into once we start getting bid documents put together, submitting for city permitting and review, and then being able to formalize a contract, getting that worked out. Glazing is one of the longest lead times right now, that we're looking at 16 to 20 weeks. I'm hearing in the next month it may go up to 24, which is really unprecedented. It has to do with shortages that they're being seen worldwide. So I state that as obviously we need to include the front end time. So if that did increase, just call it 4 weeks, then really the submittal process would then have to begin even earlier in order to accommodate and to make sure that our metal delivery is not further pushed, because of course fabrication and all of these subsequent schedule items are then tied into that. So obviously as this one item pushes, it has a critical path to push the remaining items following thereafter. So I will say that we put on here for the first preliminary draft a state grant response. So then once, I think Kate said that should come in May, we just kind of put the starting second week in June to be a little bit more conservative. And then obviously once we hear, we can concurrently start interior and exterior. We had a earlier schedule from either a year or two ago that had this duration a lot longer, but we think that we can, if we run both exterior and interior concurrently, that we are shooting to have the project there completed by next year's end. So that is our goal, that we will work back from and do a pull schedule from thereafter. Right now, our initial plan in this schedule is really contingent on the library being shut down and construction happening throughout. As we see lower level 16 weeks, all of these subsequent floors then start 4 weeks thereafter. So we'll obviously transition crews starting from lower level to main floor up to second floor, and that's kind of our methodology for the schedule thus far. I'll go ahead and pause there for any questions or comments or clarifications.
I still don't see anything that has come through. So if you have anything else you want to go over, feel free.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was really, those were my hot items. I just really wanted to dig in. Hopefully there's after the start of the new year, hopefully the tide starts to turn a little bit better as far as material lead times go, but we obviously won't know until we get there. So that's just something that we're constantly talking to trade partners on, and staying abreast, and knowing what the market holds for us. So
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for the update and all of that information. It's really helpful to know. So before we leave a little time here at the end for some Q&A, if anyone who has joined us remotely has any questions, I do want to just touch briefly on the financial aspect of the project and where the library is at in securing funds for all of these wonderful changes that you have heard about tonight. So from the start, we've always said that the exterior is our most important thing that we've done. It's a priority, not just in construction, but also in funding. So we have, as a library, been spending the last several years since we found out about this problem with our exterior, really just budgeting carefully and setting money aside for this. So the library does have money in savings right now that can be used on the project. And we did go through the process. If you've been following along with some of our board meetings or check the paper, we have been doing a bond issuance the last several months, and that was concluded on September 8th. So the library was able to secure really historically low interest rates and get debt basically on the market that we'll be paying off over the course of the next 15 years. So no referendum was needed. This was all possible within our operating costs that we would be able to pay those loans off over time. And between those two buckets of funding, we're coming pretty close to having the amount of money that we want to be able to do this project. But as we've discussed tonight, there are some things that were uncovered that were unexpected costs, or costs that we didn't think we would need to deal with for quite a few years. So we would not like to spend all of the money that is currently in our capital savings project or fund, because we know that we will need that for things that come up, and we want to be responsible and keep money in there. So we will not dwindle all of those savings for this project. So what we've done is start to look at alternate ways to fund the project, and primarily that is through state grants. So we did apply for a state grant back in April. The majority of that work was done by 845 Design to help us create that narrative, to include the plans, and to make sure that our application was one that was going to be considered complete and just be ready to go to the top of the pile, hopefully, at the state office, based on all the information they helped us provide. So we did get a letter from the state library in early September, letting us know that our project was eligible for grant funding. And we did get rated with 13 other libraries, and we fell right in the middle. And that had to do with basically the level of severity in the problems with our building. So there are other libraries in Illinois that applied for this grant whose buildings are in basically worse shape than ours. And so they were slotted earlier in the process for funding than we were. So at this time, the state has let us know that their funding for this year is very likely going to run out before they get to us. So we're at a sort of a holding pattern right now to determine if we'll have the funds available to complete the full project in the scope that has been presented tonight. So basically what I am here to say at the end of all these wonderful plans and this exciting news is that, it will be the board's job to start to look at these plans and to say, if we're not able to get that grant funding, if the state is not able to come through with that money for us, then what will be cut from the project, or what will we most likely phase and do, down the road as more funds become available? Because grant money is available regularly throughout this, the state library and from other funding sources. And we will continue to seek those funds so that we can complete the project and really make the building just as amazing as we know that these architects have designed it to be. But obviously, we have a limited amount of funding to work with for the project. So that is the financial update. That's where we're at. And as we move forward with finding out more about state funds and when they'll be available and if they'll be available, we will certainly let the public know, and we will present a final scope to the community once we get closer to that point of actually going out to bid and starting construction. So tonight was really just, it was a follow-up from our last meeting in June when we really just showed some of the exterior plans and introduced the project officially. And now we're following up with all the work that's been done, and we are so grateful, and I know the board is grateful for 845 Design and their work to come up with these plans, as well as all the consultants and experts that they have brought in to help us determine that full scope of what needs to happen in our building for it to remain safe and efficient and beautiful. So we appreciate them, and also Bolt, our construction management firm, who has gone out to their trade partners and really tried to help us determine what those costs will be and how long it will be before we can get those materials based on, like Dustin mentioned, just the very unusual circumstances right now going on around the world. So with that, we have about 10 minutes left. If anyone would like to ask questions, you can raise your hand and I can unmute you, or you can go ahead and type in the chat or the Q&A, and I will read those aloud, and then we will have whoever the question is addressed to can answer that for you. So I will go ahead and keep an eye on attendees and see if any hands get raised or anyone comes in the chat here. And we will post this on our building project website so that this can be viewed in the future. If you have any neighbors or friends or family members that live in town and you think would benefit from hearing where the library is at in this process, you can direct them there, and that recording should be up in the next few days. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I would like to thank everyone who took time to come and listen to what we had to say tonight, and we appreciate again, all of our partners that are here to help present. And please always feel free to get in touch with me and the library if you have any questions or concerns that you would like to address. And we look forward to continuing to work on this project and finally seeing the culmination of all this work sometime in the next year. So thank you for being here and have a good night.